Alrighty. So what I'm going to do, because you guys are the inaugural class for this new approach, and what that means, besides yay, we're guinea pigs, thanks, man, is we literally built part of the platform for you guys 15 minutes ago. Now we have tested it, so it should work out. I'm not too concerned, but let's kick this off. Who maybe, I'm not sure we can do the show of hands thing on this app. I don't know. Who's never done anything with computer hacking at all?
Unfortunately, there is no show of hands option in this particular platform.
That's okay. So maybe a chat, and Marcy can keep an eye on the chat, so we just kind of get an idea of kind of where we're at. So, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep a running list, and I'm going to share out a screen here, but I'm trying to watch the chat and the stuff at the same time. So if I appear to be distracted and moving around, it's just because I'm doing a lot of stuff. It's not because you guys are not got my full attention, because you totally do. I'm a great believer in this kind of work. So I'm completely open to that. Okay, so that's disturbing how far back that can go. So I am going to minimize that, and we're going to go for another thing. Oops, how about that? There we are. I can look at somebody who was having trouble with some email. Okay, good. Now, because we're going to build these, they're not even slides, they're kind of the steps. And I actually have everything written down, so trust me, we have done this before. It's just not visible. Okay, so, but I am going to try and keep my eye on the chat.
There's just 3 people in the chat who've identified as new so far, Doug.
Okay, that's cool. So you know what I can do? I can move this guy down here, and then I can keep an eye on the chat too. Okay, so thank you for helping us figure out how to navigate this. In the middle of an ad hoc conference call, I think we showed everybody what we got going on here. So earlier, it's definitely crazy. So we're going to start with the very first thing that an adversary does if they're coming at you or your organization, and that is they are looking for what we're calling OSINT, or open source intelligence gathering. So in this line of work, people tend to use abbreviations and stuff like that. And we're going to start with the early steps. In some testing engagements that I've had in the past, we have had scenarios where all we got was a domain name, and that's it. Cool, now I can see the chat too, so I'm with you. Oh, and I can see my screen. This is wicked. Okay. Crazy, I know. So, haven't you done this before? Why are you so impressed by technology? If that's too small, let me know. We can pump up the font a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with the requirement. Marcy, can I get you to just go on mute over there? And then there we are. That's a little better, because I could just hear a couple other people. Because we've got Marcy's doing 2 jobs right now, so she's right in the group that's also dealing with all the other support calls and stuff. And we've still got support going on VPN if you need. So we're getting there. So first thing I want you guys to do, we're going to start out with the DNS issue that we need you to solve. So here's your first question. We want you to go out and figure this out. when was Hacking 101 created? And on the internet, you have to register a domain name. You have to give somebody, you know, I usually say 20 bucks, but sometimes they put it on sale for a couple bucks first, but it'll be there, right? So, so go figure that out. So you notice it's HAKN 101, and it's actually HKN101.com, because maybe somebody snagged up .net because I didn't spend the extra $2. So just looking for it in the chat. Okay. Thursday. All right. So we got a couple. Now, what was the company that registered it? First Fire Productions. Okay. Yeah. So that's my company. Long time ago, I used to be in the rock and roll business, but yep. Well, that's not my thing anymore, but the company is a legal entity, and that's my trade name, so I tend to still do that. But why would we want to do that? Why would we want to know kind of what that company is? Well, sometimes it's a support company or something like that. So the CTF this year is talking about the whole idea of compromising vendors in your supply chain. Now, does everybody know how we came up with that number and that name? I'm hoping, I'd be very surprised if who is, right, exactly. Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know what who is and they're too scared to say something, that's okay. There was a time I didn't know any of this stuff, and there are days when I still feel like I don't. So who is, there's a number of companies that do it, that register domains, but in order to keep track of it, they actually have to go look stuff up. And so everybody puts these who is servers out there, and that tends to be the name. So yeah, you would go look that up. Now, I gave you the link to that particular one, Domain Tools. I'm not affiliated with them. I have no opinion on who's better or worse or whatever, but that's kind of that first step, is to get to the bottom of it. Now, the next thing is, now that you figured out that there's a company relationship and you know that it was started a while back, how do you actually sort of, how would you break in? Well, most people these days, especially if they only started in 2020, they're going to need some kind of remote access, right? Because there's nobody was going into work for the longest time. So again, let's maybe put it in the chat or something like that, but what would be some names of ways that people could get into work? So they would have some sort of a portal or a remote desktop or a VPN or something like that. And those names are going to be, published in DNS, and you'll be able to go query and look that up. So who's, what's the question here? What would be an IP address of a remote access portal for this company? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to navigate the screens. So the best way to do this is think of some names that are plausible names for remote access. So throw them in the chat or shout them out, and we'll answer for that, because your hacker doesn't know anything about it. Okay, so Jonathan put in employees.hackin101, right? So let's just call this plausible names. Okay, and I don't know how to spell, we already know that. So employees, and we're going to put them down like this just because it's kind of an easier way to do that. Don't worry about the .hackin101 because they're all going to end in that. So what other names would be good? Remote, I'm liking that. Yeah, that sounds good. Login, portal. Okay, we're starting to get some hints here. Anything else? Support, I'm liking that. Okay, an admin. Oh, Jonathan's already going for the big guns, hoping for login redirect. RA for remote access. Yeah. Okay, so you guys are getting the idea. Oh, Ade, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Yeah. And sodium. Okay. Somebody's peeking ahead. But there's some other ways to do that. So now there's scripts and you can mechanize and things like that. So yeah, find a list of all subdomains. So that one that Tyler's already put in is great. So there are tools on the internet that you don't even need to go look this up by hand, but I liken that. Yeah, pen test tools, and just go gather that stuff. All right, so if you look some of those up, do any of them have a similar IP address? Because lots of times they're going to have multiple names because people can't remember. So if you ran a few of those, would we be coming up with a name or a plausible name? Let me get back to my chat here. Okay, yeah, Tyler, you've got those. So you came up with remote portal and web access. Cool. All right. What's the IP address for any of those? Because obviously you're going to have to know that. And you might want to look at that first before. Hey, Kelly. This is the same Kelly Madsen from Bell Canada days, correct, Amundo? Yeah, looking good. Well, still breathing, eh? Yeah. Good to see you, man. Excellent. So, and to show you how long it's been, I forget myself. So let's just take a look. Let's bring up another Chrome browser. Okay, so Jason's got it in here. I'm liking this. So he's put it in the text. So I'm sharing it on the screen if you're not watching. Just for laughs, can somebody run, let's try some other names. Let's try, oops. That's not the one. Let's try desktop just for laughs. So here's another one. I like these guys just because there's no ads, so it's just creature of habit kind of thing. But if we were to do, let's see here. Was it desktop.hacking101.com? Look it up. What are you telling me here? 40. And it also says it's sodium. Right. Okay. So that's all looking good. So at this point, I'm thinking we're comfortable thinking that's probably the asset. Okay. So now, how do you know what that is? That's kind of that next thing. So the adversary, they found you, so to speak. They know you're living at 4069.102, but now you actually got to go figure out what that is. Now, because you haven't got on to the, there's another tool that you'd be using to do this, and it's kind of, we're in that chicken and egg situation, so I'm not going to endanger our time together with that. So I'm going to put the URL in there. It's an HTTP. So we found it, and this should work too. So Portal should work. Let's try Portal, because that's the one you guys found honestly. Hackin101.com. And the fact that there's no desktop tells me that Pen Test Tools doesn't have a very fulsome word list, because desktop should be in there. But you'll notice this one, if you look in the chat, is actually on port 8080. So what happens when you type that URL into your browser? What do you get? I'm trying to look at the camera and go this way. Let me move my computer just a little bit. Not secure. Well, it's a hacking class. What did you expect? No. Not secure just means that you're not using an HTTPS. And yeah, it is there. So this login portal, right? So let's bring our other browser up. Our other Chrome, just so we can see it. I need the empty Chrome. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Really? Let's just do this. New window. Give me a new window. Thank you. A nice clean new window without all the stuff in there. All right, so let's just grab it out of. Oh, and default creds don't work. Okay. And you notice I didn't say, hey, try some lousy creds and see if that helps. Like, that's the hacker mindset. I don't know. I'm here. Let me try something. That's hacking 101 right there. Did you have permission for this? No. But in this case, you do indeed have permission. All right. So it's not secure. And yeah, we got that. And it says it's a login screen. So we've sort of figured that out. That makes sense that it's Portal. And yeah, let's try it. What's a good default password, username and password pair? So admin and password. Now you could try this all day. You're going to be there all day. Okay, thanks, Kelly. We'll talk to you soon. Empty password. Yeah, try it. But yeah, this is exactly what they do. So what we want to do instead, you guys have found the desktop, so good for you. That was really that first user long. Let's see if we get out. Okay, so the good news is it's nothing that hard. All right, so I want you guys to each call out a number between, let's see here, 3 and 20. And say, I'm number 3, I'm number 4, and you watch in the chat. Okay, 19, 17. Okay, good. Yeah, no robots.txt. Hey, somebody was peeking ahead. Now you can't all be 19, so 2 19s. Okay, so right there you can see it. It's hacker 0, so HAKR 0. So you would be hacker 7, Jason. You would be hacker 13 at a 19.5, sorry, and so forth. So once you do the hacker 0 thing, in my case, you're going to log in, and your password is the deceptively simple, okay, to log in. And sorry, I skipped one step. So let me log out. Just hang on, humor me for 1 sec. This was the other thing you were supposed to do. And my bad. So, log out. Come on, log out. You can do it. Oh, it's thinking. And then log out. Thank you. Okay, right here. If we refresh right here, you're going to see that little green bowl up there in the top corner. And if you want to know what's going on, about what is this thing? Is this a Citrix front end? Is this a NetScaler front end, is it a Microsoft Azure virtual desktop, that sort of thing. Why would you want to know that? Well, because you're going to need to attack it differently each time. So one of the things you want to do, this is a real easy thing, comes free with every browser, view page source. And now you can look in here. Most of these apps, even these front end apps, have little tool marks that say what they are. And nobody ever goes in and cleans all this stuff up because they think, oh, it's a login page. But that can really help out an adversary. So what you're looking for here is funny things that are sort of unusual. So look at that one, guac notification.get status. Guac is not a common thing, but remember that green bowl up at the top. Okay, some of this other stuff, the Angular, well, that's just a normal web framework kind of thing. But this is like deceptively easy, and it works so well so many times. Just grab that little code and throw that into Google. And can you tell who's actually made this thing? So Jonathan's picked up correctly that there's an Nginx proxy in front of it, but that's just a web server. The app that's running on that web server is actually what it is. So right here, look at this, Bootstrap Guacamole 1914 Guacamole client. So now I'm just looking for hacks for guacamole and not how to make guacamole, which I happen to love, but this is the platform that you would be doing. So that's kind of where we're at. And we're not going to go into here's how you would find an exploit and write one and blah, 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 because this takes a long time, guys. It really does. But what you're doing here, what we've just done, is we have, in just less than 20 minutes, you took a domain you knew nothing about, and you figured out stuff. So we figured out the software that we're running. They're running Nginx and they're running Guacamole. We figured out who actually owns them. We know their addresses. We might even know something if we were to Google First Fire Productions. Right now you're going to find that website's down because it's on the pile of things that I haven't done that need to get done again. But yeah, you guys have gone through who is and all the rest. But I am actually pulling this from MITRE ATT&CK. So these are the recon steps that they have observed time in and day out from organized crime, nation state actors, all that kind of stuff. You guys are doing the exact same steps. So far, was there anything here that you didn't think you could handle? Did anybody think that was too hard? I don't see, yeah, I got this, or no, this is still above my head. Picking a number, yeah, cool. Picking a number between 4 and 19 was the hardest part we've had so far, exactly. So step by step is how this goes about. And the reason MITRE has put this in a framework, and I'm happy to go on about MITRE for an hour, I'm a big fan. We're not going to. But hit me up offline or just Google it. There's tons of free stuff. But they literally walk through how people hack stuff, and these are the things you got to look for. But, you know, folks, in just 15, 20 minutes, we did this. Now, what you're not picking up right now is when it's truly a nation-state adversary, they're going to find out who works there, where they like to go shopping, who their Facebook friends are. They'll friend them on LinkedIn. They'll do all that kind of stuff to start moving that pretext. Well, how do they know who to talk to? How do they know how to target? Right. Well, right now I could maybe join a Guacamole users group and look for people that work at Hacking 101 and become their friend in the users group. There's lots of angles in now because you know something about them and they don't know that you know it. So we've got there. So now let's go back to getting onto our desktop itself. Yeah, And so we figured out guacamole. There's me. And now you can guess the password all day, or you can look in the chat and you'll see that it's all lowercase, okay to log in. And then it's going to bring you into this Kali instance. Now, I really want to thank the guys at Bow Valley and the gals at Bow Valley that did this. They are not only sponsoring this, they're paid for this. So the meter's running on this. This is running in Azure Cloud. And there's a reason that Microsoft is the second richest company in the world right now, behind Amazon. Cloud costs money, and the meter's running. They're paying the meter, so it's all good. So this is just part of what they're doing to give back to the community. But I really like this platform because it's, we've spent all morning trying to get some people's VPNs and their Kali instance in, and here you just logged in. It was great. And if you like this, you could maybe turn it on for your home hacking machine. It would work fine. But this is a Kali instance. And how many people don't know what Kali is? Okay, Kylie, no problem. So Kali started out way back when as sort of a hang together Linux, and the, guy hackers would sort of add stuff, and it was pretty flaky. It's moved into this very organized, rigorous thing. And TJ gets the prize because Backtrack was the original thing. And when I saw it back then, I said, yeah, I'm going to build my own machine. And back then I used to try and maintain them. But it's been years since I went down that. I think the last time I was at DEF CON, I got excited about trying to do something on something like Parrot Linux or whatever, because some guy was talking, oh, this Kali sucks. And it's like, yeah, no way. I use it now. And this offensive security company, they actually are a legitimate company. They provide training. They do all this stuff. They maintain this instance. So it's an actual operating system with all kinds of security and forensics tools. And for the most part, the stuff just works. Like it used to be when I was doing this, Kali.org. Yes, exactly. And although it's hacking and dangerous and all this, it's really not. When you pull down one of those ISOs and build it yourself on a virtual machine, it's the real thing. It's trustworthy. It doesn't contain malware. You can write malware on it. You can debug malware on it, but it doesn't have malware on its own. It is a testing tool by a professional organization that literally sells classes on how to use this. If this stuff floats your boat, great. They've got all kinds of free stuff. As a tester, as an auditor, if you're not using a tool like this, you have a big gap in your security knowledge. And that's kind of what started this. I had some guys and gals that I worked with, and I was joking around. It's like, yeah, it's not like they haven't run Nmap before. And somebody put up their hand and said, I've never done that. Does that mean I'm not a real security person? It's like, no, that's not it. So, yeah, that's not what we're doing. So, we got in. Now, what we've done right now, let's pretend for a second that, how did I get that credential? What's a common way that people lose their credentials? And I'm watching the chat while I'm trying to copy and paste something. What's the normal way people lose their credentials? Sorry if I'm going backwards here. Gets leaked, yep. So phishing number one, yes. Get the fire truck out, there's phishing. Jinx, yeah, sometimes it's just bad luck. But yeah, definitely. So you have your account on one company and their stuff gets breached and you happen to use the same username and password or a similar username and password. So they just guessed and off they went. So yeah, accidentally typing the username in the password field. Oh yeah, I've done that one. And it goes in a log somewhere and somebody's on the bad thing. Totally. So somehow, some way they lose their creds. Now you guys got lucky. You just looked down in that bottom right-hand corner and somebody was kind enough to do that for you. But if we're looking at the MITRE, and I'm not allowed to use the words kill chain because that's trademarked by Lockheed Martin, so that we're unsaying that, and we're going to call it the attack cycle. This is just a pattern that they're doing. So in the attack cycle, we successfully figured out what it is, and we are now getting past, and we've got into the remote access service. So yeah, you guys got it all right. And Ade and Jennifer will recognize the original author of this quote, because we all used to work together doing risk management. We had a boss. We talked about risk and likelihood. And he would always quote this one from Fight Club: on a long enough timeline, everyone's luck runs out. So I think it was Kylie that said jinx. Is like, yep, somebody just got lucky and guessed. They found you on Facebook. And I wonder if their password's, you know, Sebastian Rocks, because that's, you named your name. Yeah, your dog's name is Sebastian Bach because you're a big Skid Row fan. How's that for an obscure musical reference, Rod Beaudry? Do I get points for that or what? I think that's pretty cool to pull that one off my head. Plus 10, all right. Now, Rod, maybe you can share your symbol picture for the class. To me, that's like all rocking. Maybe. Another one. Don't get me started. This is why he's not allowed to teach school. We'd never get past the first day. We'd just be having fun and making jokes. But here's what's going on in that attack. What did we call it? Not kill chain, the attack life cycle. So here's what's happening. We're spear phishing. We're dumping credits from somewhere else. We're trying stuff. Odd times, they don't even change the account, you know? Like, first guy's on, we're trying admin. True story, I was doing this, and I don't think anybody from that company's on this call, but I'm not using the names just in case. I'm in there typing, and we're doing this PCI assessment, and it's going pretty good. And I said, yeah, I just got to check your routers. Yeah. And I logged on, and the guy, he's a buddy of mine, he's standing behind me. And he's like, yeah, here we go. It's like, yeah, scanned and found all the front ends, the login, because that was sort of the thing. If you're on a network, normally you shouldn't be able to get to the management of those wireless routers, but yeah, small company, you do what you can. And so the management interface was local. And it's like, seriously, admin. And I got in. And I turned around and looked at him and I said, you know. He goes, yeah, that shouldn't have worked. I'm really sorry. So he went back in and changed it right away. And it's like, identified it as a finding. I don't unsee because I've got a CISSP. I have to maintain my ethics, which said validated that it was already mitigated, so it's not a finding. But yeah, default credits, totally, you'll get in. Somehow, some way you get in. Now, I'm now on remote access. So you guys are there. You are now inside this organization, and you've got an attack tool. And I've got to get this, come on, don't be a jerk there. On the other side, maybe, word? Okay, let's just save that. No, let's not save that right now. That'll jinx it. We've got enough live demo gods already waiting to just pounce. You guys know about the demo gods, right? You've seen that? Like, this is live demo gods on steroids. Okay, so back to our thing. You're inside the organization. Anybody who doesn't have a Kali instance up and running? Yeah, don't do that. Yes, please do not hack the machines themselves, because there's 2 more classes. So Rod, you're on, or no, you're not playing? You're just here to keep me honest. I do not have Kali running. Okay, so let's put that back in the chat again. And Faith, are we out of? Okay, I will need to check that in a second. Let me just see here. Let's go home. All right, so it looks like somebody could use number 10. So Hacken 10. So HAKN number 10 is free to use and okay to log in. And it looks like 14 and 15 are open. And so is number 20. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 free desktops. Okay, so let's try that. Let's see how this works. Somebody snagged number 14? Not quite yet. Okay. All right. So excellent. All right. And so if we're out of desktops, that's fine. We can wind this back. And there's 2 more classes, and it's going to be up all over the weekend or the 2-day conference. So, I mean, consider we only built these 20 minutes ago. That's actually pretty cool for the cloud. So yay, cloud. Well, that's good for stuff. Okay, so you're inside the organization. So that's kind of it. And assuming this did right, back to DNS now. First question. Who am I here? Okay, so God bless you, Zinji. So Zinji from Bow Valley College was our gear man. So in my day job, Rod is my right-hand man when it comes to keeping our color purple nice and bright purple. He's a wizard with everything when it comes to logs and equipment management. So don't hire him away right yet, but if you're looking for a skilled guy, he's your guy. But he's really expensive and he's worth every penny. So hire him. God says, shut up. What if Hagel's watching this later? No, Rod didn't tell me he's looking for a job. I was just saying he's a great guy. And Zinji is from Bow Valley. He did a bunch of this work. This is not simple to do. But you notice what I did here. So I do this nslookuphackin101.com. Now, just to be fair, let's play this on the outside. Let's go to cloth again. Who does Hackin 101 show up there? Hackin101.com. I'm going to tell you why this matters in a second. You notice that address is 74.208.236.194. What's the address on the inside here? No, I do not want to pass you off. You're going to take me with you. So what's the difference between the answer to that? Anybody? Do we know about the difference between inside addresses and outside addresses? Internal DNS, right on. So what we're talking about here is on the outside of the internet, there are, I don't know, 205-ish large networks, and then they broke it up into things. So millions and millions and millions of addresses. Supposedly we've run out, but everybody still seems to be able to get on the internet, so something's working. But on the inside, they carved out these 3 spaces. They call RFC 1918. I'll just throw that in the chat, but that's a little trivia. And you'll hear the network guys always talk about this because they think if they use acronyms enough, you'll think they're smarter than they really are. It's too bad Kelly's on here. I tell my telephone joke about stuff. But anyway, that's useful because we now know for sure we're on the inside. So the next thing we want to do, now that we know we're on the inside, we want to figure out what can I see. So if we're looking here in our attack cycle, you want to sort of figure out kind of where you're at. Okay, so we know what the domain name is. So you want to know what the LDAP server is and stuff like that. So how would one do that? So these are Nmap Nse Scripts. You're going to go, I thought Nmap was just a thing. So who has never run Nmap before? Okay. All right. I have not Nmapped. All right, so this is your inaugural Nmap session. So right in your Kali window, I want you to type just this. Nmap is awesome. It's about to get more awesome, especially NSE. Okay, you stole my thunder. So once you see the NSE scripts, you'll never go back. You go, I didn't know that came with it. So this is why I rag on the network guys, because they think they got this. Okay, so here's my thing. 10 dot top dash ports 50. What do we got here? 10.0, where we got 0.50.0/24. Okay, so there we are. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through what you can do here with this. So copy that and paste. Really? Come on, paste. Nope. Okay. Let's type it out again, Doug. You guys can read it in the chat, and the TCP scan, yeah. So this is literally Nmap 101, but no, you're wrong, TJ, not quite. The reason that, so I'm adding this other thing. So you look at this one, top ports, and I give it 50, and 0.50.0/24. Now what that's saying is go try every IP address in this 10.050/24, and what I want you to do is only look for the most common 50 things. -1 points for TJ. Yes, we're going to take that off as CTF score. All right. Notice how fast that came back. Okay? It's just crushing it. Now, what Nmap does under the covers is it says, I'm just going through my list. Let me connect out to that port. And the way TCP IP works is as you're running these services, it actually has these tools or these ports that are running, and they're sitting there listening. And if somebody connects, it says, yes, can I help you? Think of them like an open window. Now, if you have a large house and there's only 2 windows open, you got to be pretty darn accurate with that baseball to get it through the window and not break the glass. Because this is kind of the world Rod and I live in. If you break enough windows, somebody's going to come looking for you and shut you down. Yeah. Oh, Nmap. Actually, I wouldn't mind sitting in on that. I love talking about Nmap and learning new things. So, but this is the hacking side of it now. So not just how to do the tools, but yes, this is part of the community stuff I'm talking about. Jeremy just put in a link or a note about it. And yeah, feel free to throw the link in there too, Jeremy, and we can throw it on the B-Sides chapter as well. So good. Yeah. So we're set up. And you want to just be strategic on where you're looking. And what this top ports does is it says, just look for the real common stuff. Because even if you've got something weird and esoteric on your network, odds are pretty good it's going to have an RDP interface, an SSH interface, or an HTTPS interface, or an HTTP one, because who needs to encrypt it? It's internal. So yeah, that top 10, you can sweep pretty quickly. You'll be in and gone before Rod knows, hey, something went off, and we try and shut you down. And you're not going to break too many windows, so you might not set off an alert in their network monitoring. So this is a great way. So what do we got here? That top ports. So that's your #1 takeaway out here, top ports. Now, TJ was right. If you don't give it this top port, it's going to try 1,000, which is going to take longer. It's going to be noisier. But you just want to see who's out there and are they alive? Real uncommon for something to answer on a couple of these ports and not be alive. Well, what do we got here? I got a 1050.7. I got something running on 36. I got something on 35. Oh, so the good news is we found ourselves these 30s and 35s. I think that's us. So that's probably good. How would you know that, you ask? Okay, Control C. That. You can just look at your own address and kind of make a guess. Yeah, I'm at, oh, it thinks I'm at .7, so, all right. I don't pretend to have this entire guacamole environment figured out. But I can tell you right now, those ones that are 3389 and 22, those are the Kali boxes. So those are not the ones you're interested in. But there are others in here that are pretty useful. So right there. So somebody had mentioned sodium way back when. So sodium, that's actually the inside of this guacamole box. So please don't hack at that. But what do we think this guy is here? Oxygen. What is he? And there should be one more here. Probably a domain controller, yeah, because it's got 445 listening, so that's a normal Windows port. And it's also running 53, which is, yep. Yeah, so Jonathan had also pointed out, yeah, they're all in .50, so that means these are all local machines. And that makes sense because we're hacking from inside in this environment. But you'll notice right here that that domain service, and I got a, what this means, this MSWTB server on 3389, that's just RDP, exactly, Faith. That's what it is. But it's got a little more formal name in the protocol, so that's what Nmap is reporting it back as. Now, you say, well, how did you know that, Doug? Well, you do this enough. You look at enough Nmap scans, it actually starts to make sense. You can tell by looking at it what it is. It's like, yeah, does anybody thinks this is a Linux box? No, it's definitely a Windows box because it's running all these things. Or it's somebody who's gone insanely crazy trying to make it look like a Windows box. But now, it's like, okay, I know where the domain controller is now. So that's very useful. And so what we've done here is kind of that first step when you get in to say, what's the domain name and what's the LDAP server? You're working around these recon steps. So you're now looking inside. So now TJ had mentioned the Nse scripts. So this is the other one. And I don't expect anybody to ever remember any of this. So literally, you want to Google Nse, something like that. Yeah, so SNMP, nums, domains, like all of these things here. So these Nse scripts, there's 600 and change of these. And they measure all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, if one was playing the CTF, you might find this stuff kind of useful. And it's not because it's always the best thing. In many cases, there's a better tool that's specifically for this. But Nmap, the reason that they're teaching this at the InfoSec is it's very useful from a networker's perspective. I don't know any guy running firewalls and network switches and stuff that isn't up on Nmap. But they didn't know about these Nse scripts. And when I started using these, there's about 100. And I even knew some of the guys that had written them. And now it's like look at this. Like what kind of language does Apache speak? So you found something that says it's an Apache server, and it's going to try and guess that for you. You want to look at, you know, what's going on a Samba share. It's in here, and you literally run it. So the nice thing about it is you don't have to memorize all the tools. What you'll find is because it's good at a lot of stuff, it's not the fastest at any of them. So, you know, you kind of take it. But if somebody's running Nmap in your environment for a long time, it's probably a thing. You know, what are they up to? But yeah, so there's an LDAP root DSC. I think that's the one. And I will probably stop at this one for the NSEs because I feel those demo gods just chattering in my left ear. And because I'm not hearing anybody talking, so other than Jen who said hi. So, you know. But right here. Okay, so this is a discovery thing. It says it's safe. Safe-ish. Okay. Usually, yes, and yeah, totally, TJ. In Metasploit, so that's maybe hacking 201. Check back with us next year. Metasploit is another tool like this where a lot of the plumbing and the hard work is done for you, and you can bring up a framework and run this, but you can run your Nmap scans however you want, and then you can import them into Metasploit to start trying to break into the various things. Okay, so right here, this one, and it's pretty scrunchy little syntax, so I'm going to throw it in the thing here, copy. And then they're going to have brackets, and where they say host, that doesn't mean you type the host. That means you type the IP address of the machine you're going after. So you'll notice here that we're not running 3380 or 389. I'm pretty sure it's there. I'd be real surprised if it isn't. So how we would do this, maybe somebody want to volunteer how they would type this into their Kali machine? It's like you not only yeah, hacking, yes. So that's like you're stealing my last 3 minutes of my class. Hang on. We're probably going to go over because we're a little delayed, but so if you're going to go to the tabletop, the tabletop workshop on incident response, I have never actually done that, even though I am a contributor, and if you go see it, you may see where I contributed to that. But it's a fantastic class. I've heard nothing but great reviews. So yes. So Faith, close. So 0 is the whole network. Actually change that to be, yes, that's the one AJ's running. Yeah, that's definitely worth checking out. He's gamified the whole thing. And he's an interesting personality for sure, but the whole gaming approach is well worth doing. But yeah, you would want to run this. Oh yeah, you did it. It is a great time. So thanks for the plug. Yep, I'm sure he'd welcome you back. I'm not sure what their seating capacity is, but since it's virtual, it's probably pretty easy. Run that. Let's try that with .8. Let's just see if that's even working. So if we tried that. So .8 we think is our domain controller, and unless Zinjay added a domain controller when I wasn't looking, and I'm copying your notes here, Faith. I'm just changing that last thing. Was it script LDAP dash root DSE 10.0.50. Let's try 8. And if my typing's okay, oh yeah, go baby. So here we are. look at this. I'm inside. It's telling me stuff about the domain itself. These are actually artifacts. If you were to use Microsoft's Active Directory users and computers tool against the domain controller, it will tell you things like the name of the default site, and it'll tell you a bunch of different items. Now, a lot of these numbers mean something to that environment, but it definitely tells me that there's a domain controller named Oxygen 101. And right here, this default first site, first names, blah, 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 that tells me that's one lazy sysadmin that didn't bother doing anything other than just turn it on and get it going. But you found the domain controller. Okay, so one of the reasons that you want that is because if you can break into that as an adversary, oh, and it was even kind enough to tell us the MAC address, which might tell us what kind of equipment it's running on. It says it's Windows. Well, yeah, that all sounds good. It looks legit. It's not somebody faking us out with a different kind of domain controller or something. So what you've got here now is you're looking around, and if we were to go back to our MITRE attack steps and where we are in the attack cycle, you're doing things now. You are discovering stuff about the network. So you've done some network scanning, and there's some network shares that might be useful. File and directory. It's always good to know where people are leaving their files around. But look at what we've covered. You know, we understood about how they would use remote services, how they might be able to gain access through different types of credentials. Now, there's a whole trippy thing on Nmap alone in Kerberos using Nmap. You don't know anything. You don't have any creds at all, but you need some usernames. You can start to use Nmap and use a little trick in Kerberos to say, is there a user there or not? Which is what we did last year, and maybe we'll dig that up. So there might be some follow-up notes. Yeah, because we can leave this there. I just wrote that down. Because that's it. I really just want it to be an hour, and I want to be mindful of the other presenters and their work as well. Now, we're running 2 more sessions, I believe, of this. So I'm going to hang out on the channel, on the CTF channel, and keep an eye on things there. But we can definitely keep going there. So, yep. Oh, and Kari's helping us out, so we're looking good. All right, so there were a couple of resources that came in that people mentioned. Yeah, well, thanks to you guys for showing up. It's really tough to teach a class when there's nobody here. But have you started to appreciate how this is just a methodology that you learn, just like anything else? Okay, so, and Ade asked a great question. As the hacker, is there a good way to know if you're actually in a test environment? Why, no, there's not, until you get skilled enough to identify some of these artifacts. And technically, this whole CTF is a test environment, so look around. You might see a few telltale signs. But yeah, there are companies that go out of their way to make test environments look exactly like the real ones, so that the adversary doesn't know they're bouncing around here, and they're already cordoned off. So yeah. And yeah, TJ, if it's 2 red flags should be going off, I don't know. As a guy who works on detection engineering for a very large oil and gas company, and my running mate it's real easy to miss stuff. So it's got to be a pretty big explosion in some cases. So, okay. And yes, Sarah, is this a guide you were following that going off is too easy? So, great one that I want to plug since we're all doing this. It's called the Red Team Field Manual. And I know that the guy was having a thing because it acronyms to this. So, and that F stands for fine. Yes, it does. Pinky swear. But yeah, there are classes. So the guys alluded to a couple of these. There's a blue team, there's a purple team, there's a few of them. So there are people out there that write books on these methodologies. There is a really great book by a gal named Georgia Weidman from Lightbulb Security on hacking. And there's an earlier version written by Dave Kennedy and the guys from Offensive Security. I don't know how many copies there are of all of the signatures of the original authors on it. I own one, so when I die, the people in my will might sell that for $5 or something. But yes, all of these are available. Great resources. And the takeaway here is this Kali platform that you're working on tends to be the way it goes. A lot of these tools recognize this, and why? Because it just works and it's safe to use and you can get some reliable stuff. So yeah, for sure. The book's dated, but the methodology isn't. And I think that's what I want to get everybody's head around. There will always be a new exploit and a new thing, but how they go about it doesn't really change. These are defensive activities and offensive activities that have been going on since Sun Tzu wrote it down. So yeah, so book links, I think that's a good. We're going to take that away. Kari, we've got that as a thing. We're going to get some links out. And yeah, that's cool. I'm happy to chat all day about this, but I know people have stuff to do. So technically that's it for the class, but that is not it for us learning. And these environments aren't going down. So if you wanted to play, there's actually a whole bunch more material I never even got to, which is kind of how I do all my classes. So feel free to look around in this area. And yeah, the recording should be available. And there's lots more to find. So seriously, dig around. And if you want to just go back in the CTF channel, hey, Hacking 101. Is this a thing that I just found? I'm happy to share freely about that all day in that channel because it's not giving away hints because this isn't for points. Now, next year, maybe we can do this, but there is a small token of appreciation for those that participated. And I want the name of the one other author besides Dave Kennedy from Dave Kennedy's Pen Testing with Metasploit for the prize. First one up, we're going to nominate you for a door prize. It's like a real door prize. I'm not kidding. We're giving one away each time. So what was the question? Who is one other author besides Dave Kennedy on the Metasploit pen testing book that Dave Kennedy was the lead author on? And the other three all work for offensive security, so that might be another tip. That works. Okay, Jeremy got it. Devin Kearns. All right. Yeah, Dave Kennedy doesn't count, Rod, because I can't. So. No, but yes, Dave Kennedy, our Dave Kennedy, no, it's not the same Dave Kennedy. But the Dave Kennedy there, he came to our first B-sides. So he flew all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio to Calgary, Alberta, did the talk, and then flew back. And if you look, you will see that that intro, the intro to Dave Kennedy's talk on the very first B-sides that we have is this. And HD Moore did not participate in that. But yes, HD is a friend of ours and a great avis. So yes, Devin is the guy, and Jeremy got it first, so fastest on the Google wins. Next year we'll have a little CTF mini in there. But seriously, there are actual CTF type things in here. Hack away all day if you guys want. It's totally cool. And Maddie is there, so he goes by the name of Mutz online. And yeah, the true story of the intro, the B-sides. And as I was getting dressed this morning, I thought about it. I'm going, I need to change my jacket, because if I'm in the same, I know this is going to be recorded. And they go, isn't that the same jacket he was wearing? I have the jacket, and I was reaching for it. It's like, no, we're the other ones. So, so spelling doesn't count, Jeremy. You still win. So you get a door prize coming to you. Yeah, I'm not that hard ass. I'm really like I'm the easiest teacher of all. Okay, so hack all the things. Yeah, you still bounce off and break your leg, exactly. Yeah, Kennedy's book is good. I really like it because it is, kind of literally step by step again, even earlier than George's book, but it's very focused on how to use Metasploit and just use that framework to do the stuff. And because he is the original author of the secure social engineering toolkit, they are called SET, which is, again, a little long in the tooth now, but it still works, just saying. And part of that intro and B-sides is him building that. So you definitely got to go back and check out his talk, because it's great. And they did a great job of merging the two video things. So if you go to B-sides Calgary, or whatever, bsidescalgary.org, you're going to see the links to all the previous talks and everything over the years. So Dave Kennedy, he's there, he taught. And we had Chris Nickerson, who spoke at that one. Unfortunately, the Ghosts in the Machine ate his video. And we've got Jack Daniel as well. We're there. So we had two of the original B-sides founders were part of the original Calgary B-sides, and the founder of DerbyCon was here as well. So